And hundreds of residents in northwest Indiana woke up to find KKK flyers papered across their lawns, their doorsteps, and their cars. The Trinity White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan have claimed responsibility for the flyers, saying they're merely informative. The flyers advise undocumented immigrants to leave the country before Inauguration Day or face deportation. The flyers were distributed in Valparaiso, Michigan City, South Bend, and several other Indiana communities, including outside of Indianapolis.
Whites only. The curb that greeted neighbors on Friday night. Come Monday, the words are gone, but this swastika still very visible.
Especially if you have kids walking by here. It's just unreal.
Marlene Menares literally stepped over it after picking up her two daughters from school.
It's very irritating. Again, just because, minority, seeing stuff like that, it's like, really, we're all equal. Why does race have to be, something that makes you different from me?
But she wasn't the only parent bothered at Wingart Elementary. Neighbors tell us they have yet to call the county to remove the graffiti, but it's not the first time they're seeing this. Try to reach out to the homeowner to see if he was responsible for the offensive language, but he said he'd rather not talk. But for Mother Marlene, tonight she's left having an unfortunate conversation with her little girls.
It's happening. In anticipation of a Trump win, Texas has acquired thousands of acres of land right along the Mexican and U.S. border. And now the state of Texas has sent a letter to the Trump administration offering 1,400 acres to be utilized for a mass deportation camp. The land is located in Stark County, right along the Rio Grande Valley. The 1,400 acres would allow the Trump administration to build an enormous facility for processing all undocumented immigrants to be deported. The first to be deported, the 1.6 undocumented criminals currently in the United States. Trump has yet to respond to the offering of the land in Texas. But the acquisition of the land indicates only one thing. Governor Abbott from Texas and Trump already had talks of such facility and the need of the land.
Our foreign policy establishment keeps trying to pull the world into conflict with a nuclear-armed Russia based on the lie that Russia represents our greatest threat. But the greatest threat to Western civilization today is not Russia. It's probably, more than anything else, ourselves and some of the horrible USA-hating people that represent us.
You have no humanity.
I don't think I do.
You have no remorse at all about any of the people you murdered.
It just don't seem to affect me. I mean, I could kill a person and just go out to dinner. I don't care. The only time I ever got any kind of feeling about it at all was the rush I got when I was doing it. I mean,
You got an adrenaline rush from killing people.
I guess it was more than that, too. I mean, I got a kick out of cutting them up. I mean...
You get a kick out of cutting them up?
Yeah. Seemed like after the first one, it just got good to me, At first, I was kind of nervous about it. But then after the first one, it was like... It wasn't just women. I mean, they were men, too. They just didn't find none of them. I didn't tell them about none of them, so...
In Northern California's wine country, once lush vineyards now turned into swamps. 10 to 15 inches of rain falling in the past 2 days. The storm bringing with it crushing scenes like this.
I get home, tree falls down. I run over, help my friends, my neighbor's wife get out of the house. We took her out the window onto the canoe and then down and out.
Nearly 200 miles to the north.
This is the Eel River just outside of Eureka. I'm about 6 feet above it. By the time it reaches major flood stage and crest later on Friday afternoon, the water is going to be well over my head.
In nearby Arcata, similar destruction there. Hurricane-force gusts ripped off large sections of the roof from this community arts center known as the Sanctuary. We spoke to David Regan, a volunteer there.
This is video from Pacifica in Northern California, where strong winds and high waves are pounding the coast. The storm is threatening everyone from the Bay Area up, where flash flooding, rock slides, and debris flows are possible. Up to 16 inches of rain could fall from Northern California into southwest Oregon through tomorrow. The strong winds have caused widespread power outages in the region, with at least 2 deaths in Washington due to the storm. One of the big concerns is how rain could affect the burn scar areas. Fortunately, here in Southern California, it's spread out through several days, but we are keeping an eye on the mountain fire in Ventura County. If too much comes down on the vulnerable hillsides, there could be landslides. That's why some people are getting sandbags trying to protect their properties.
Every breath feels like poison in India's capital.
Because of the pollution, my eyes are burning. It's like chili in my eyes when I leave the house.
A toxic smog is blanketing Delhi, choking the city's more than 20 million people.
He's been coughing too much. Because of that, his face has been swelling, his legs too.
And pollution has gotten so bad here that clinics now specialize in treating the smog's victims.
Yes, I suddenly start coughing, and I keep coughing for a long time.
The government's urging people to stay indoors, but Kajal's father can't.
I have to leave the house to go to work. If I don't earn money, how will I eat? When I leave the house, my throat gets completely jammed. By evening, it feels like I am lifeless.
Volcano on Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula erupts for the 7th time in a year.
String of home explosions in 3 different parts of the country, from Tennessee to Ohio to Michigan. Stephanie Ramos with the images tonight.
3 separate home explosions rocking communities across the country tonight. Flames and smoke billowing from this home in Tennessee. Fire crews saying debris flew nearly 150 yards in all directions. The home reduced to rubble, flames tearing through what's left of the roof, knocked off the foundation. No one was injured, but officials fear other homes in the area could be on fire. The cause is now under investigation. Overnight in Michigan, just north of Detroit, a suspected gas leak causing this 2-story condo to explode. Doorbell video showing that loud fiery blast. Debris seen flying across the street. 2 adults seriously injured. Earlier that same day, investigators reviewing how this home in the town of Bethel, an hour outside Cincinnati, exploded. 2 people were killed, another injured and treated for serious burns. Neighbors say an HVAC technician was working on the furnace before the explosion.
There are, as we speak, thousands of people on the streets of San Francisco, tents lined up and down the block, bodies all over the ground, discarded used needles, broken government-issued crack pipes. The California I knew as a little boy no longer exists because of all the chaos and lawlessness in our community.
You have to understand that the top issue in San Francisco this year, the top political issue, was homelessness. That was the top issue, followed by policing and public safety, and then the drug crisis, and then housing, and then the economy after that. The city cannot fully recover unless people feel safe coming here, until businesses feel safe coming back to San Francisco and opening up. Progressive policy doesn't work unless you...
Tonight, they're the images alarming Californians. In LA, the homeless on places like the Hollywood Walk of Fame and along the iconic Venice Boardwalk.
Any and everywhere you go, in and out of stores, homeless, homeless, homeless.
What was once largely confined to the city's notorious Skid Row can now be seen all across Los Angeles. Hundreds of homeless encampments have sprung up, including this one in the shadow of City Hall.
Oakland, California sure does have a homeless problem. Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather into communities.
Is President Biden trying to start a war so he can stay in office? What is going on here? This is November right now here in Cali. All these tanks. Jesus help us all. Lord have mercy. Tubi, baby, thank you very much.
Breaking news overnight in the war in Ukraine. Ukraine making accusations that Russia might have used an intercontinental ballistic missile. Our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, is in Kyiv for us this morning. Good morning to you, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Robin. That's right. Overnight, multiple strikes by Russia on the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro, and the situation is rather confused. The big question, what was it? Ukraine initially saying it was an ICBM strike, and President Zelensky just reinforcing that in the last few minutes, but they're still assessing. ICBMs have never been used in combat before and are nuclear capable, but this wasn't a nuclear strike, and a Western official also saying they didn't think it was an ICBM, but many agreeing that they haven't seen a strike like this before. The Kremlin refusing to comment, but of course the attack comes in the wake of Ukraine firing American ballistic missiles and the US embassy here closing yesterday amid fears about a potential Russian attack. And
circulating online appears to show a ballistic missile hitting the city of Dnipro in Ukraine, one of multiple strikes reported overnight from Russia.
Is 95% sure it was an intercontinental ballistic missile strike, but that they're still assessing missile parts on the ground to confirm. Ukrainian President Zelensky addressing his people, saying, quote, "Today our crazy neighbor once again showed what he really is and how he despises dignity, freedom, and human life in general," referring to Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Russia is actually launching ICBMs into Ukraine. That's a huge step in the wrong direction for, the fate of humanity. And if you don't know, ICBMs are intercontinental ballistic missiles designed to carry nuclear warheads from continent to continent. If it's true, it's bad news. So if you...